Hey, welcome everybody. We are, man, I tell you what, fall is the season. I love me some fall, Dr. Worcester. Brig, are you a fall fan? Do you like fall?
I do. I'm a summer and fall fan.
I love me some fall. I got my sweater weather. I got my pumpkin spice lattes. It's all good. Eric, are you a fan of the pumpkin spice lattes?
They're fine. I'm more of a fan of the Fest beers and the Martins. Got some great stuff from Aslan. Some good beers. Don't make that. Don't make that.
Beers are just it's like a loaf of bread in a can. I just can't do it. I'm a bourbon guy, and I like it's carb friendly.
Brig, coffee or beer or bourbon?
Good question. I would say beer would be more my style. You guys are gonna laugh, but I'm a PBR fan.
Oh wow.
PB freaking R. That is the beer of the people right there. That's the proletariat beer. I can't say it, man. Oh my God. That's what the P and PBR stands for. You know what I mean?
So,
oh my gosh.
Brig, welcome back for season 2 of our podcast. We are excited to talk to you again. And when Nathaniel and I were talking, we knew we didn't have it. We weren't going to be enough for round 2. So we reached out to a special guest to join us as our co-host. And I'm going to bring that person in right.
Do we need like a drum roll or something?
Now.
Brig!
Look at this.
My office into an art studio, and I haven't figured anything out yet. So, I tried to get it together before we started, but it didn't work out. And so here we are.
Hey man, it's authentic, just like Brig. No one is more authentic than Brig. So Brig, authenticity, Ken's authenticity, and his office. Look at that. Brig, I think you guys know each other, right? You guys know each other.
You guys know how to say somebody.
Just a little bit.
Ken was inspirations to me when I started the PLC process at a PLC Institute. He said, Brig, don't worry about the cultural issues you got. You just go ahead. And I've been so thankful to be a friend of yours since that fateful day.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. So here's the deal. So Brig, man, listen, we're buds. Like we're on the road. We like every now and then, like our paths cross. Your first book was it your first book on singletons? Yeah, first book on singletons is just like so purposeful and so helpful for that kind of that cachet of folks that maybe don't have a traditional team. You wrote a fantastic book about that, and then which was on our first show, and then here we are again. You've got another book, man, authored times two, PLC Dashboard, and I'm waiting for my copy. I haven't got the copy yet, so I can't speak to everything. I don't know if Ken's got it.
He's pointing to himself.
Before I gutted the office, that's where his book was, right there.
There it was.
Right now it's in a box, and then when Roberto paints that shelf black and that wall black, I'm going to put all my books back, and the PLC Dashboard will be there. I apologize for not. I didn't think to have it out. I packed everything. So I can get
well, congrats to both of you, because Brig, I have no copy yet. But once Nathaniel gets through, or I'll get my own, I will check out that.
We're working on it. And so Brig, I was doing my little social media thing. I was killing some time, and Ken doesn't do book endorsements. Ken, but you endorsed this book, so I was like, what a great idea. We're going to make a bigger connection. We're going to get Brig on. We're going to surprise him with Ken. We're going to talk some PLC work. Let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
I love it.
All right, Brig. So tell us about this book, man. Tell us about this PLC Dashboard, bro.
Well, it really is the book I would have wanted when I was a principal and when I was a teacher leader, because there's so many people who, they really believe that we should collaborate. They'd like to collaborate, but they literally don't know how to do it. And so the book starts with a kind of a review of why we should collaborate. But I think a lot of people really don't discount that. They just want the collaboration to be meaningful. And so in my experience of working with teachers and schools and principals all over the country, it became apparent to me that people needed more, call it like breadcrumbs to connect the dots to how do I go from wanting to collaborate to doing it in a meaningful way, not only for teams, but also for singletons. And along those lines, what ended up happening is, after the pandemic, principals aren't just looking for substitutes on a Friday. They're finding substitutes every day of the week. they're trying to, they're even hiring substandard hires. And I think that there's, this, just a reality of a principal's life that they have maybe 7 minutes in a day to devote to the PLC process. And the dashboard is a way for that busy principal, which is basically all principals, to know in seconds which team needs more support. And that's really what the dashboard's all about. It's short, it's sweet, it's systematic, it's methodical, and it really is that book that I wish I'd had when I was trying to do this work.
So Brig, so when we look at that dashboard, like I agree, and I love what you're talking about the subs. And we were talking about this just on an earlier episode about the challenge of recruiting and the challenge of like just getting teachers and all those things.
We've got a shortage, and I'm telling you, it's because from the outside we look relatively miserable. Brig called them breadcrumbs. Brig is about results, like real ones, not cliche. He calls them breadcrumbs, but don't trivialize that. My Uncle Leo taught me simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, baby. And that's the thing when you work with Brig. He just says it with a lot better language than I do. But we overcomplicate everything.
Yes.
And Brig is just like A plus B equals C. And there it is. And there it is all you need. When he and I work together, really simple. He get a little index card with his 4 or 5 essentials, a little hole punch. He established relationships with folks in the community. When kids learned, their endorphins flew. They felt good. The teacher get the hole punch. Guess what? The teacher's, all of a sudden teacher knows I did that shit. And then the kid goes having ice cream, and we're not dealing with race, culture, nothing. All he did
results.
Was he set up systems to help teachers get better.
I love it.
Nathaniel, before we go forward, I'm sure everyone watched every episode of our first season, but just in case for those who foolishly did not, Brig and then Ken, can I get you both to just give us like the 2-minute version of your origin story, your experience in education, starting with our guest, Brig?
Yeah, I'm a second-year educator. I was a Coast Guard officer before I became a teacher. And I noticed that one of the things I loved in the Coast Guard was making difficult things simple to others. And I loved presenting. And as I was getting out of the Coast Guard, I thought to myself, who gets to do this work all the time? And, I felt led to becoming a teacher. And I loved the dynamics of the classroom, but I also loved just making difficult things simple to kids. We had a saying in the Coast Guard that was this: it's not your fault that somebody went out in the ocean and they didn't do their homework and they got in trouble. But as a Coast Guard officer, it's now your problem to solve. And that mindset served me well in the Coast Guard. And it also serves me well in education. It's not our fault that kids come to us with all kinds of issues. And it's not your fault that maybe as a principal, you don't know how to help the teachers collaborate in a meaningful way. But it is your problem to solve. And it's a great problem to solve. I love being an educator. I can't imagine being in any other industry. It's fun. It's engaging. It's mentally challenging. And it takes a lifetime to master. So I just feel like along the way, I've learned some ways to work with teams and singletons in kind of can-do, simple ways that I love to be able to teach. So that's what this book's about. And that's a little bit about my background.
I love that, Brig. Ken?
Yeah, can you
everything you learn, you're talking to a leader who in May is going to explain results through the lens of his leadership of teachers only. You're not going to hear about demographic and population. You're not going to hear about SPED, ED, JED, or any of them. So when he talks about the challenges, that's what it's about. I'm a former classroom teacher, assistant principal, and principal. I loved every role. I loved it all. My origin story is different. I didn't come through traditional channels. I was a finance major. I was on my way to law school, stumbled into this profession. I'm the one and only person you might know who got into this profession for money, because I was waiting tables, ready to go to law school, and I waited on a school principal who asked if she liked my demeanor. And she said, you ever thought about teaching? I said, no, ma'am, I'm on my way to law school. I'm studying for law school. She said, you ever thought about being a sub? And I said, no, ma'am, I'm on my way to law school. She said, that's too bad. I got a long-term sub position that pays $100 a day. I said, I will be there tomorrow. And I went and bought some irregular fitting stuff from Marshall's, like way in the back, and TJ Maxx back in the corner.
In the clearance section.
In the clearance section, baby.
Smart place to shop.
Walked into that classroom, didn't know what I didn't know, saw 8 kids, thought to myself, they're paying me $100 a day for 8 kids. I'm stealing money. Didn't know anything, nothing about demographics, nothing about special this, nothing that. All I know is I just kept breaking stuff and having fun. And then I saw kids' eyes flash.
I love it.
Why don't we have more people who want to become teachers? Nathaniel?
Well, here is the thing is because I don't know, editorial opinion. We have cut the Achilles heel out of the professionalism of our profession. And if you go onto social media, right? And I hate freaking social media. Brig, I don't know if you're on social media or not, but I don't like it. You're not going to see leaders like Ken is talking about the profession. You're going to see people that are probably not the strongest teachers having the biggest platform to denigrate our beautiful profession that makes all professions possible. And I think you're not getting the voices of those positive deviants out there that are saying, to hell with the excuses. We're rolling up our sleeves and we're doing the best that we can. And I think that we have, as a nation, have got to do a better job of celebrating excellence and not excuses. And this is from top down. And I think that we just don't, as a country, instead of all this infighting, charter school, public school, private school, all this stuff, it's all a distraction, right? It's all a divide and conquer distraction, and it's weakening our profession. And I think as long as we have that type of ethos that's out there, we may not have the best and brightest that are coming into this profession. And Ken's right. Like, this is a beautiful profession. It's outstanding. But what happens is, if, like Ken talks about and Briggs addressing, a culture of pity is what we're getting right now. And we need to have a culture of excellence. It's all students, Brig, right? It's all students. All is the only demographic that I know. The only color that I know is all. That's it. That's all I know.
Greg, what do you think, man?
Well, it's such a great question, Eric. And I certainly, pay is a piece of it, and all these things there, it's more complex than just a little answer. Here's my thinking. Is it in 2025, if you put a teacher in isolation and think that they can handle the incredible complexity of 2025 with the students that are in the classroom and with the, even like Nathaniel mentioned, the social media aspects out there, and just even I think the lack of general respect for educators. You put a teacher alone in a classroom today without being on a team, it's no wonder they're leaving the profession and trying to buck an easier way. But you put that same teacher on a meaningful collaborative team, they are going to thrive. And that's what I love about my book, is that it says, here's how to have a doable way for a group of teachers to collaborate, which would include first-year teachers, experienced teachers, and have them collaborate in a way that's focused on DuFour's 4 critical questions. But they need a little more structure than just saying, go work on these 4 questions. And what I see is the right people who want that in the schools that are working this way, they're going to stay and they're going to thrive. But if you did want to just come into this profession and be an isolated teacher, and I'm not talking solitary confinement, but if you just were wanting to do your own thing on your own, I just don't think this is the profession for you. So that's
interesting.
Quick thought.
Brig, let me ask you this. So I want to dig into this book. God, we got some great ideas on this show, bro. This is going to be a killer episode. All right, Brig, check this out. We got Ken Williams, we got Brig Leane, we've got Dr. Worster, we got Nathaniel Provincia. We're all a team. Our principal has just said, all right, you 4 miscreants over here, you 4 misanthropes, you are now on a team. Go forth and be the best team possible. But Brig, you're the team lead. What would you do to wrangle these, this motley crew together to help us be the best damn team possible? What you got?
Well, I love your question. And here's the analogy. If we wanted to love football, we wouldn't get out helmets and we wouldn't get out yard markers and we wouldn't hire referees. We'd just start throwing the ball back and forth. And so if I were the team lead, and let's say the 4 of us are all teaching Algebra 1, I'd say something like this. Well, what do we think that these kids ought to learn in the next month of school? What's one skill that we think that they better learn as a result of the next month of school? And Hattie talks about this. That's what visible learning is. It's making the learning in a reasonable amount of time visible. And so what I'd say is that'd be like throwing a football back and forth. And maybe Ken says they ought to graph a line. And I say, yeah, I can agree with that. I think they ought to graph a line. And then we just work to the next question. Well, what would be a short quiz-like way to tell whether kids could do this proficiently or not?
We got to graph a line.
To graph a line. And we'd have different things to reduce cheating, but frankly, it could look a lot more like an exit ticket than an end of chapter test. And then we'd use that platform for the 2 purposes of the PLC process that were intended. Purpose 1 is that more kids can graph a line. Purpose 2 is that the 4 of us would learn through the sharing of our results. By one of us is going to get better results than the other. And we're not sharing results to judge one another. we'd be sharing results to figure out what's working in the hard task of getting freshmen to graph a line. And those purposes that I would not keep hidden from our team. I would make sure we all knew those are the two purposes we're trying to do, is get more kids to learn the things that, frankly, we agree is essential, and have us learn the process. And I guess I just have to say that, would I expect disagreement on that team? Yeah. Patrick Lencioni would say if there isn't disagreement and conflict that's constructive, he'd say dysfunctional team. So I don't think it'd be like some bed of roses to get there, but I think if we repeated that every month, one skill a month, to kind of just get going, to throw that football back and forth, before long we'd say, hey, these are the 9 things a kid better leave Algebra 1 knowing and able to do. And we'd hone that year after year. And I bet 3 years in, we wouldn't doubt that any kid who walked through the door, I love Ken's terms, brown, dusty white, whatever, on an IEP, English language learner, doesn't matter. We would believe that the 4 of us are going to ensure the learning on this smaller set of skills that we have said are essential. And we would get better and better at that over time, eventually getting closer to what's called collective teacher efficacy, which is not like some light switch you can flick on. It must be practiced over time.
It's a crazy brain. But I want us to be careful. Just be careful that we don't characterize any group or condition or income of kids coming in as something that happens to the principal. Like that's part of the problem we have, is America doesn't pity kids. America pities teachers, because leaders make teachers out to be incompetent, no capacity. Like I said, they're super smart in May when we hire them. And then by August, when I say, hey, let's do this, or hey, let me find out how to teach you, and say, oh, they're not ready for that. They don't have the capacity. That's because we poise ourselves as victims. Every principal starts the year talking about what we're up against and how we're going to overcome that. That's not what any leader does. If 15 families come out of a forest who've been off the grid and never had a day of schooling, that is definitely going to be a challenge, but it doesn't prevent me from delivering quality grade level instruction and assessing my impact. And then growing my impact, I can still leave at 3 o'clock. That's nothing that happened to me. That sets us up as victims, right? The reason we have a shortage and a job that has 90 days off, is because from the outside, it looks relatively miserable. And it is relatively miserable because we have robbed teachers of impact. We front load teachers with every negative factor they cannot control before day 1, and then expect them to come back 179 more times and pretend that they didn't hear it. And that's not flippant. What I'm trying to tell you is, you're not leading if you already have the answers. And if the first thing you talk about are your demographics, you've already announced your victimhood. You are saying what you cannot impact. And that's why every school in America looks like the demographic and not like the leadership of teachers as experts. And because we lean into demographics, we already have our excuses. That's why our suits stay so crisp and the collar stays so pointed. You can't lead when you have the answers. You can toil, you can look easy, but you cannot lead when you have the answers. And every school in America leaning into demographics has the answers. It's robbed teachers of purpose. And at our core, nature, we are purpose-driven animals. It is impossible for teachers to come. I'm creating these stickers. Here's one. Congratulate the kid who made me look good. I'm on a mission to get teachers to just take credit. I've never seen a profession give away credit so quick. You know why teachers give away credit? It's not humility when they say great class, great parents. It's because we keep saying kids learn because of where they're from and what they
That's a great point.
and how much money they make. And we never talk about teachers. So what I want to do is turn teachers loose and note that best practice begins with how the teacher would teach it. And then I'm going to grow her. Get those 4 people together. First thing I'm gonna do is find out who you want to become, baby, because your becoming is everything. I always end up in the mirror. I know nothing about demographics. I have no idea how to teach poor kids. I told you, I'm Black. I have no idea how to teach Black kids. I've never met 2 who are alike. The bottom line is this, and we don't want to face this as leaders. To truly lead teachers is to be led by teachers.
Yeah.
Ken, can you hold up that sign again? Because there's something in there. We don't fix
we don't
students,
fix kids.
We grow our
we
teacher
grow our
experts.
teacher experts.
Great. So Brig, one thing you mentioned, I'm over there. Brig, one thing you mentioned was providing in your book specific, I think, clarity for people, whether they are new or they're experienced, how to function. And I think that is one way to certainly grow expertise. People don't need platitudes. They don't need philosophical theories they can't connect. They want visibility. They want clarity. They want to know how to do something. Can you explain?
Kids, right? You're right.
Can you explain in your book just how you go about differentiating your message? Where if I'm brand new to teaching, maybe I came from an alternative pathway. How would I know how to function and make this group of 4 effective?
Yeah, great question. What I used to do is I used to have a 4-page template that I brought to a team to kind of boil down. All right, the 4 critical questions. What do we want kids to know and be able to do? How do we know they learned it? What do we do when they don't? And what do we do if they already got it? But over the last decade or so, that 4 pages has been boiled down to 1 page. And that 1-page template, the simplicity of the PLC dashboard is the 1-page template is tracked on a dashboard. And the dashboard doesn't have to be anything high tech. In fact, it could even be a bulletin board where there's a sticker, a paw print that says we've finished this template. But the whole idea of the template is to capture the 2 purposes of the PLC process. Purpose 1, that more kids are learning the thing the team said is essential or the singleton said is essential. And purpose 2, what learning are we capturing? And so one of the prompts on this simple template is, which instructional practices got the best results? That's one place we gather that. And whether it was that first-year teacher who had some new techniques that maybe some of the experienced teachers hadn't considered, or if it is that experienced teacher, because so often it is that experienced teacher. And we want to capture that, who got the best results. And then when we do the intervention, the in-class tier 1 intervention, we're going to capture which intervention strategies got the best results. And so those are 2 places we're going to capture that learning.
Great.
And frankly, if we don't capture it, we lose when these experienced teachers go off into retirement. All their knowledge and skills walk right out the door with them if they weren't on a meaningful collaborative team where they can share what they're doing that's really getting those results without seeming preachy.
Rick, let me ask this, because Nathaniel and I have this discussion on an ongoing basis. We're a team of 4. Do you advocate that all 4 of us, I know you talk about planning together, would you argue that we should all be doing that lesson the same way, or do you think we should have some variance in how we deliver that?
Another great question. And I think too often this is one of the confusing things about the PLC process. The PLC process doesn't advocate for how you teach it. It advocates what you want these kids to learn. And I love that Marzano wrote a book that says, teaching, it's the art and science of teaching, because that's really the truth. There's some sciencey things that we ought to do. We ought to, explain vocabulary. And there's certainly plenty of things that are pretty much across our education that we ought to be implementing. But I also can't be Ken. I can't be Eric. I can't be Nathaniel in the classroom. But given that we have about the same amount of time to teach a skill that we've all agreed on, the best way to influence each other is clear results that somebody's practice is getting better results. And if Nathaniel says he likes to teach via group work, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm more of a direct instruction guy, then really it's just my opinion and his opinion. But when he's getting 83% of his kids proficient in graphing a line, and I'm hovering in the 30s, all of a sudden I'm going to be way more interested in his techniques.
Sure.
But that requires
ultimately you want the best version of the teacher. The best version of the teacher. So I'm always going to start with, how would you teach that?
Mm-hmm.
And then when she demonstrates that, if there's room for growth, we grow.
Right.
But you want the best version of the teacher. That's why you hire this individual being.
Nathaniel, you got to weigh in.
With all of Brig's parameters, got the same amount of time. We agreed to the skill. We agreed to this, and boom, Brig got these results. That would make me more interested. But I got to start teachers taking their best swing, which means it's got to come from in here.
Yep. Nathaniel, agree?
Yeah. I love the fact that we've got Ken and Brig on, because it's like this opportunity to kind of pull everything together when it comes to this type of practice. So, and I hear your question, Erica, about this too. Brig, I'll go back, and I was talking with Ken a little bit about this. I've been in a lot of data meetings recently, right? And this is typically how the data meetings go. Like we've got this De Colores, dashboard of all these different colors where they landed like on the benchmark, right? Or whatever it is, or the assessment or whatever, the map testing, or, whatever 3-letter acronym test that we have, and you've got your red kids and your yellow kids and your blue kids and your chartreuse kids and your magenta kids and your, saffron kids. And, and they all land at wherever they have. And I'll ask this question, and I'll say, all right, team, why did you get the results that you got? What did you do to get those results? Crickets, Brig.
They're crickets because you've already told them that they're Mexican and the poor and special ed and black and
Yeah.
green and blue. Teachers don't think they make the difference because we keep telling them outside factors do, which is why you got to kick them out of the building.
Yeah. And so they can't. So that's been a generational mindset for our
Leaders,
practice.
leaders tell teachers, demographics is an announcement to teachers. Here's why these kids learn.
Yeah.
And you can't do nothing about this one. So
And so,
teachers
Brig,
every day are giving away credit because we don't set them up to feel their
I
power.
want you to weigh in on what Nathaniel was saying, but first, I want to hear what'd you get from Chick-fil-A?
Well, I got a, and I'm a Chick-fil-A fan. Ken,
Chick-fil-A is great.
Ken
Chick-fil-A is great.
that Chick-fil-A, they don't care what demographic or what neighborhood they're in. They're going to have a fantastic store no matter where they're at.
That's
So
right.
a little,
It's going to be their pleasure.
With all your demographic and population behind the counter saying, my pleasure.
that's right. But I got the chicken sandwich without a bun because about a year ago I'm a gluten-free guy, which breaks my heart because I love all that stuff. But anyway, that and a large fry. So, and who can resist the Chick-fil-A sauce? So
You can't go wrong.
that's so funny. I'm kind of like banning Chick-fil-A, not for any political or religion. I'm just.
And I'm gonna have you check who make your shirt.
I know,
shirt,
not for any
all these
political
people
reason.
out here, everything you wearing. I want to know everybody.
I just need variety in my life. Give me some Popeyes, man. I want
Try
I want
Popeyes, Daniel. Go try Popeyes, and then you're going to run back to Chick-fil-A.
I know Chick-fil-A is great. I just need variety in my life, Brig. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm need to be back to simple. I don't know, Brig. All right, so weigh in on this question, man. We're all over the place. All students, all teachers. What are your thoughts?
hey, the word PLC or the phrase PLC, it's professionals who are learning in community. I think Ken's right. I mean, sometimes we think, is a PLC about kids learning? No, it's about the professionals who
I agree.
community. And that can't be a sharing of opinions. And that's where they need a framework. They need a framework to make this process go forward in a way that's not wasting anybody's time. Because frankly, I rarely run into an educator who has a free minute. And I just think that's, to me, the joy. I'm going to come back to something that was said earlier, and that is somebody said, well, what if you don't know what that, you got crickets when a teacher is asked, why do you think the kids grew this much? Well, if you got crickets, then in my opinion, that's a great opportunity to say, okay, whoever got the best results, that's the teacher we're going to go observe. And even if they can't articulate what instructional strategies or what classroom management skills they have to their colleagues, they could at least be observed where people are going to pick it up. I mean, I think teachers are doing the best they know how. They're not doing the best they can do, but they're doing the best they know how. And wouldn't it be great to go sit in that colleague's classroom who's getting better results, who couldn't articulate why I got more kids to graph a line, and you find out that teacher was really good at building relationships with kids. And now all of a sudden, I actually want to know how they did that. So to me, I think it's all about the professionals who are learning in community. I mean, it's almost like we're not really about teaching. We should be about getting to be better teachers and do that through the results that we're getting. But it needs to be done in an organized way that makes sense to people. Because like I said, nobody wants to waste time.
You're not going to get that answer from teachers until they know they're the only reason kids learn. That's the problem. They know what they did. They don't think that it had an impact because we keep saying, well, black kids, well, the subgroup, well, this, well, that. Well, in my building, as long as we have, when kids didn't learn, it's because of us. When kids learned, it's because of us.
Yeah.
And data, I don't have I drew one like that.
Mm-hmm.
All data is a reflection of the impact of the professional. That is all data is. So that's the other problem. We got teachers teaching 6 weeks. You sit down and looking at data and you're looking at like you calling it kid data. That's insane. That's not kid data. Listen, if I teach kids one semester and struggling, like I'm just, the data, I'm struggling. Like my results are terrible, right? I go on sick leave, Brig comes in second semester, they hire him, and the data starts doing this. Are the kids low or high? Answer me. Are they low or high?
Yeah.
When I do that in session, blank stares. They try to give me esoteric answers. Well, they're really both. I said, no. Give me answers you say in meetings. I don't ever hear kids are both. They're like, I don't know. And so then I ask, when you go to YouTube University to learn something and you find an expert's video and you watch that video, and when that video ends, you feel dumber than when your search started. Were you low? No, you wouldn't found a video. You found the guy, Eric, that works for you. So you found a video that works for you. You still had the video that didn't do anything for you. Are you low or are you high? Were you low after the first video? Were you gifted after the second one? You were neither. All we know is the impact of those two experts. That's all we know. And until we get back to that, we're going to be dancing around playing these games, careening till May, where we all know how the data is going to end up. Every principal knows the boxes are going to check. They're just talking. You got to remove the safety net. You can't lead with the answers. See, because if you already know the demographic boxes you're going to check, then you don't need teachers. And if you don't need teachers, fundamentally, down to the DNA in cells, you cannot lead them. It's impossible to lead them. You have to need them. I told my teachers, it's you and me. The district gave me 8 excuses. I'm kicking them all out. It's you and me, and we're going to do some things. So they knew. They knew it was in my best interest to make sure they got what they needed. I told them I'm going to get on your nerves sometimes, but not so much to run you out because I need you. I need you. That's the only way we're going to get there. So all I did is make teachers better.
Ken,
I have to say that early on, but I didn't do much RTI at all because it just took too long. It doesn't.
We've heard from a few guests that phrase "no excuses," and we've heard it from a lot of our friends in the charter world who have mentioned it, and we've heard that it means 2 different things. Some people took it to mean that Nathaniel, it was the discipline, and that we're going to discipline everything, and it's heavy in discipline, and that wasn't what they meant by no excuses. What they meant by no excuses was there is no excuses for us as teachers to fail our students. That's what we mean by no excuses. So that when you mentioned that resonated with me.
What does failing your students look like? What is that? Tell me what that is.
Yep.
What does that mean?
They're not growing and they're not learning.
You can't control that. You can control you growing and learning.
But here's the thing.
On kids growing and learning all day. We start digging into kids and their background and their home lives.
I agree that you can't control. I agree you can't control it. But what you can control is where your locus of control is as an educator. And if you think kids can do or you think kids can't do, you're generally right.
I can do and I can't do because I can control that. I can think all day about a kid and can be dead wrong. And what does it mean? It's still stuff you cannot control. When you get paid to do a job, the impetus is on you and me to get better. That is our only play. Our only play.
Ken and Brig, can you tell our viewers from across the country, where can they find you?
Well, I'm best found at brigleane.com. That's a place where my website's got lots of tools for teachers, lots of tools for principals. You can sign up for my newsletter, which of course mentions your fantastic podcast.
Thank you, Brig.
And then I am on Instagram and Twitter, but I don't know. I post some things, but I kind of steer clear of those a little bit too, as some of you said. But I think we're all trying just to reach educators who are hungry for positive, encouraging messages and messages of hope. So
we will do that in just a moment. Ken, where can people find you?
Good stuff. You can find me. I'm over there. At unfoldedsoul.com, and I'm looking for leaders who want to have their results be 100% based on their leadership of teachers. That's what I'm an expert at. That's the right work, and that's the only work I'm going to do, which is why I've been home for the last month and a half. I'm just looking for that. I'm looking for a leader who wants to build a culture where kids learn because of the teachers.
Love it.
Do that.
Awesome.
Daniel, did you have any last questions before the wrap up?
Well, yeah. I love this conversation so much because I think that what Brig's book is bringing to life is, once again, like that collective teacher efficacy is so vital. And I'll be honest with you, teachers don't. I'm not going to. Generally speaking, we're not trained to collaborate, right, Brig? I mean, like, there's no like collaboration with other adults one-on-one when we're doing our masters or our leadership. And I think that leaders, and I've said this a billion times, leaders lead how they were led, teachers teach how they were taught, and I think it's time for a new paradigm shift. I love what Ken is saying. It's really sticking with me, and I think that I'm going to really, really be thinking about this, digging into it. My father is a carpenter, and he doesn't, and as he grows with his carpentry skills, right, he's constantly learning, as he's growing with those carpentry skills, the houses and the things that he makes will take care of themselves, right? He doesn't blame the house. He doesn't blame the owner. He doesn't blame the tools. He's just got to keep growing with his carpentry skills. And this is a craft, right, Brig? I mean, like Ken, right? This is a craft.
I like it to be, even though teachers are never asked to get better at their craft. They're just asked to support and pity and deal with and empathize and that. But yes.
It's a craft. It's a craft.
The teachers who can tell you how they got that data are the rare, what I call experts. They're teacher experts.
Yeah.
They are focused on the standard. They don't teach kids. They teach standards to kids.
Yeah.
Teachers are not the problem. Teachers follow.
Ken, I want to give you
All the teacher does is show me who's leading them.
Ken, I want to give you a chance right now to say some words of inspiration to our educators and leaders. Brig, you're next, and then Nathaniel, close us out, pal. But Ken, go ahead. What you got?
Years, principals been telling me teachers have been the problem. Teachers are not the problem. Teachers follow. Teachers follow leadership. And it's not the leader's fault, as Brig started out, but we're here and we got to do something about it. You know, you can't honor demographics and teachers. Power cannot be shared. It's a zero-sum game. Either you have the power or demographics has the power. It cannot be shared. And the proof is every school looks like a telethon because you look like your so-called demographics. I don't understand that. I want us to move to a place where teachers don't feel like every assessment is a referendum on a kid's race or culture or income. I'm going to get away from all that. And all we're going to focus on is, baby, where'd you start? Where do you want to end? Let's create some steps to get there. And that's all we're going to focus on. Don't you notice how teachers use the word behaviors like it's a noun, like it's something that kids brought to school with them? They don't do that out of ignorance. They do that because we bludgeon them. Leaders bludgeon them with outside factors. When I leave my school, the only way kids learn is in here. Kids learn because of us. That is all they know. And I'm a Luddite. I keep it that simple. Kid learn because of me. When a kid doesn't learn, it's because of me. Both ways, I stay in the mirror. It's always served me well. I got a lot of wins. I've also got losses. But I'm maniacal about focusing on what I can control. And our systems are possessed with pointing teachers in the areas they cannot control.
Love it, Ken.
Thank you for this opportunity. This was awesome.
Greg, what you got, pal? Inspire us.
Well, I just have found that there are so many principals and teacher leaders who have tried the PLC process. And the research keeps coming back to these couple of things. Guaranteed and viable curriculum is a lever for student achievement. So is collective teacher efficacy. And yet, I just think there have been enough of us in this profession who have tried to go down the PLC route, but they've had some false starts. They've had some, it didn't work out so well, and they just aren't sure what to do. I really believe that's one of the things that I'm blessed to have kind of like been able to discover with working with so many teachers, which is, how do we make this doable? And that's what I love about the PLC dashboard book. That's why I'm so thankful to have been a part of your podcast. And what a pleasant, joyful surprise to have my mentor and friend, Ken Williams, surprise me on this episode. I mean, in terms of somebody who I look up to, who's encouraged me and challenged me and been a friend to me, having Ken here means a lot to me. So that's some of my thoughts.
I just describe Brig as that guy. I swear, I told my wife, you meet Brig, you're gonna love him right away. He's just that guy. But I want you to know, underneath everything Brig says is we're gonna get results that look like his leadership. He hasn't said it. I am telling you, beneath it's on the top of my skin, and then I cuss and say shit. We are the same person. He just reads his Bible more than I do. I'm telling you, beneath everything Brig says, all that stuff, all the dashboard, I promise you, none of it is in isolation. It all begins with, we have a mission. And look, I also thought it was about all kids. It doesn't matter. He's going to get results that reflect his leadership of teachers. That's where everything begins. The PLC process accelerates that. The PLC process didn't make him. He brought the raw essentials to the game.
Awesome. Man, oh man, this is an awesome show. Extreme ownership. I love it.
That's what leadership is.
It's extreme ownership. I love it. When we were evolving, this is my final word and we'll get out of here. When we were evolving as a species, Brig, like we were all on all fours, maybe if you believe it, I don't know, maybe something like that. But let's just say for a creational theory, right? We're all on all fours. But one of us stood up on two legs.
That's right.
And they stopped looking at the ground. And Ken, they started looking at the crown. Right. They looked at the horizon. That's what leadership is. Stop looking at your ground. Start looking at that crown. And then do it collectively where no one is working independently. Interdependence makes that happen. That's how we survived as a species. That's how we survived as human beings.
All day.
Buy PLC dashboard. Figure out how to make it work. Buy ruthless equity. Figure out how to make it work. Own everything. The only subgroup is all. I love it. All right. Thank you guys for watching Community Connection. Drop the mic on that one.